Share any questions, anything. Now is the time.
Why is it breathing through your
Go ahead.
I found it so uncomfortable to like breathe around like that. Like I can even feel like my body twitching since I'm used to breathing so heavily.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to breathing
Nose.
through my nose heavily, but I don't know, is that like normal? Yeah.
It's totally normal, and day to day, 24/7, absolutely breathing through the nose is really important. It's good that you have that habit. For these specific techniques or situations, it's fine to breathe through the mouth, but at first it might be slightly uncomfortable to get used to that. But so there's nothing wrong about that. But if you breathe through the nose and that's the most comfortable thing for you, then that's great. That's perfect. Yeah. There's a question here.
Yeah, I was gonna say the breathing through the mouth is crazy. It reminds me like the first time I did Wim Hof.
Oh yeah.
It was really like tingly. Why is that?
Tingles are from a kind of change of CO2 and oxygen balance, and in some way you don't want to breathe too heavy or too intensely through the mouth because that can lead to kind of these contractions in your hands and can be quite uncomfortable. But the breathing through the mouth is just, for these kind of exercises, is easier in some way because you have less resistance for the air to come in and out. So you can establish this continuous rhythm without working too hard against the resistance of your nose, right? But the downside is your throat gets a bit more dry, right? But it's easy to maintain that cycle of the breath without using too much effort. But when you go around your day, you don't need to continuously breathe like this. Breathing through the nose is really important. But it's just a natural reaction of the body. Any other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
Funny, I don't do much breath work. I'm trying to do more, but every time I do it, I'm just surprised how I feel like I'm on some drugs. It doesn't go away, or you do it, hopefully not.
Yeah, it's exactly. So getting high. It's. I find the gateway drug is the breath work to meditation. So I find there's so much information about mindfulness and how important it is, how good it is. And I find sometimes it's misrepresented in some way, meditation, because I find it's not a relaxation technique. It's something that can be quite challenging and quite confronting. But breathing or using the breath to relax, to regulate your state is probably the most easiest and accessible and most practical way for most of us to get that state of elated trippiness and a state of relaxed calm, which is a really good way. And it takes a bit of practice to learn to regulate your state more effectively. And I think breathing is a really good way to have those training wheels to get into that ability to calm yourself down or be more aware of different states and how they shift. Yeah. Anything else?
Is there a difference between the body's reaction when you're breathing slowly and deeply versus holding your breath?
So there's interesting difference between how you hold the breath, let's say on exhale and on inhale. So on inhale you can hold the breath for longer because you have still oxygen in your lungs, so technically you can stay longer. But on exhalation it's much more relaxed feeling of breath hold, even though you can hold the breath for a shorter amount of time. But perhaps because there's less tension in your body and your body has released all the tension. Because inhale is active, so it requires some contraction to breathe in. And exhale is just the softening. And if you can find that relaxation in that exhale, that's where you can really drift off really easily. But the issue is you cannot hold the breath for too long like this. So a good way to extend that feeling and sensation is really trying to learn to pay attention to subtlety of specifically exhalation and sighing, where it can become almost a tool that you can lean into to help you have this relaxation response. So I think it's quite subtle, but it's quite useful skill to have. Don't know if it answers the question at all.
If you either struggle to fall asleep or wake up in the middle of the night and you struggle to get back to sleep, which breathing technique would you recommend? sleep?
I think the prolonged exhalations, like
The one that we did right at the beginning?
uh, even just simply because for me personally, when I struggle to fall asleep, if I try to think specifically about a specific technique, that puts me in my head too much. But what I find is useful with the breathing is just, like extending your exhales, focusing on longer exhalations will calm your heart rate. So by simply trying to breathe out for longer than you breathe in is a really nice way to center your attention without thinking about inhale for 3, exhale for 4, and just getting into your head too much. But that's a really good way to do those breaths with exhale, and just focus on exhalation breathing. But also potentially a good way to preempt some of the waking up at night is actually spending some more time before bed as a pre-sleep routine, doing something that doesn't involve screens, or something that helps you wind down. Let's say spending 10 minutes doing some breath exercise, or reading a book on paper, right? Something that helps you wind down more effectively. I think that's probably the best way. And just focusing on the prolonged exhalations or sighing that is really soft and easy. Yes. I mean, it's interesting how some of you probably heard about this, about taping your mouth closed at night to sleep. 8-9 years ago, this was crazy. Like whenever I brought it up in workshops, people were like, "What are you talking about?" Now people bring it up in workshops, which is really cool to see. And many people find that it is quite effective and improve their sleep. It's just finding a way how you can stay with the tape. And one way how you can use the tape is actually have a vertical strip and just put it like this. And again, you don't need to use duct tape. It can be just light medical tape. And idea is just you keep your lips closed, so you're less likely to snore, you're less likely to develop sleep apnea, and you're more likely to breathe through the nose, which is more effective way of breathing anyways. So yeah, I still to this day use it, because I had multiple injuries. My nose, I've broken it twice. So I still need to tape, because I tend to breathe through the mouth too easily. But it's a really useful tool.
Time for one more question.
Yeah, I mean, that covers James Nestor's stuff, and I was wondering if there's anyone else you'd recommend that's good to read up on, apart from yourself, of course. Wim Hof is another one that comes to mind, but
Yeah.
it seems like breathwork isn't really that well covered a topic.
It's a really good question. I think James Nestor's book is perfect starting point, because he's a journalist and a really good writer, and he covers broad topic of breathwork. I think if you're curious more about practical understanding of physiology and how to use it for improving health and your general well-being, I think reading something from Patrick McKeown, reading Oxygen Advantage book, I think that's a really good way to actually learn practicalities of it, like as a next step. So yeah, that's definitely a good way. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.